All right, testing, testing, testing. God, all right, we're good. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High, His only begotten Son, call Halay and La Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakak Radash. All right, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, Wun Tish Will, Wa Barakathum, to the hopeful elect. All right, today through the Spirit, I want to go into a video, entitled Moral Decline Leads to a Fall. Right? Moral decline leads to a fall. It's gonna be through the spirit, quick little lesson to edify. All right, and it's on the chat GPT, it shows I put on there, did moral decline have significance in ancient Rome's fall? And then I also put, was it similar to the Greeks fall? And I'm gonna get a couple of quick little bullet points and points out of there, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and bring out the precepts that I have, right, to show the similarities with America, the daughter of Babylon, which we're in right now. Right, it says right here what ancient Romans thought. Right, it says Roman writers often blame decline on moral decay, especially among the elites, those super rich or the top rulers. Right, it says luxury and excess, replacing older ideas of discipline and simplicity, corruption in politics and military, loss of silver duties, with fewer citizens willing to serve the state. Right, everybody was all about trying to be flashy, just like people are in America. People just care about themselves. They want to be all luxurious, lascivious. They want to be all flashy, right? Make a whole bunch of money, but nobody cares about actually the well-being of the nation as a whole, which really that's how Esau is. You see, and people are following the same way. Then you go down. It says what modern historians think. It says historians today argue that moral decline was more of a symptom than a cause, and a symptom of these problems, right? Which really all these are moral decline. It says economic strain, like inflation, heavy taxation, right? Which we see happening now. Trump's putting unrighteous, you know, some of it is okay because a lot of the nations were winning like crazy. They'll sell stuff for cheap over there, and then they'll sell it to America for a crazy amount, right? But some of it is unjust. They just going over there just taking people's shit, right? But it said right there, it says economic strain, inflation, heavy taxation. It says political instability, frequent civil wars and assassinations, which that's been happening for years, man. Presidents being killed, right? You had the Dems and the Repubs, just like back then. You had the plebeians and the patricians, right? Same thing, man. No new thing is under the sun. It says military pressures, reliance on mercenaries, external invasions, right? And it says administrative overload. And ultimately, when you look at how America is right now, America's missile defense system is terrible. That shit has a 51% rate of not working. Their GMD. You can look up their missile defense system, right? And their missile defense system has a 50-something% chance of not being able to perform. Okay, now you go down. Okay, now I want to jump down. Let's see, bottom line. Romans believe moral decline caused the fall. Modern historians see economic, political, and military causes as primary. It says moral decline is best understood as how people explain collapse, not the main reason it happened. Which really all these things are signs of them declining, right? Because they're ruling, like, we get the word moral real fast. Because they're not doing stuff correctly. When you deal with people in an unjust way, it's going to lead to unjust outcomes happening. Let me get this word real quick. Okay, let me see here. So let's go to here. All right, it says morale. Come on, man. All right, morale, etymology in the Latin. It goes to moralis, morale. It says from Latin moralis, more, which means custom, ralis, like customs, right? As a noun, first used to Latin moralia, right? You come down here, it says translate Greek ethikos. It says one's disposition, morals, customs, manners, right? And just come right here. It says convection of practice, right? So there's supposed to be a certain way that everything is supposed to be done correctly. justly, right? There's supposed to be justice, right? That's part of having morals. Like customs are a way to be. And the way to be here is completely unjust. So that's why we're seeing America crumbling. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get the first precept, and then we're gonna jump back down into the chat. Check this out. This is Sirach 10, and I'm gonna give verse 8. All right, it says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. This ain't morals. This is immoral. This is not justice. This is not just. It's unjust dealings, right? It says the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right, and kingdom is sovereign power or dominion. So dominion is being taken out of the hands of Esau, Edom. And it's going to be given unto the Lord and his people. And they're going to rule in righteousness, right? Because under the jurisdiction of Esau, Edom, what is going out of the planet Earth? Straight wickedness. You see, and a quick precept to prove that, we'll go here. It's the second time this came out. We'll go here real quick just to prove that real fast. Let's see here. Let's see. Here we go. All right, let's start at verse 7. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. Alexander the Greek, or the Macedonian, which he really was, which they go back to Amalek, Edomites. Right? It says, and his servants bear rule everyone in his place. Right? And after his death, come on, man. Yep, it says, and after his death, they put crowns upon themselves. Right? They had rulership in different portions of the earth. It says, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth under the rulership or jurisdiction of Esau being in power during the Greek Empire. Right? The Macedonians were Edomites. You see, go back to that lineage that Haman wicked ass was from, the Amalek. You see, so it says evils were multiplied on the earth. So when that happens, this is what we see. We see the decline in the rulership. I want to get in GNT as well. You jump down here, it says Sirach 10 and 8 GNT. It says, injustice, arrogance, and wealth cause nations to fall from power and others to rise and take their place, which we see happening now. I want to get that word injustice real quick too. Can I look up? There we go. Right, watch this. It says injustice. Where is it at? There we go. It says lack of fairness or justice, unjust act or occurrence, inequity. You see, cruelty. And that's what we've seen in America's rulership, is straight cruelty and inadequate dealings in the earth. Let's get that word, the etymology for this. I spelled it wrong. All right. In means not, and just is right. So not right. And that's what you see in America. Everything is not right. Everything that's biblically supposed to be done on earth is not being done. Under the jurisdiction of who? These Edomites, man. These top elite. You see? So that's why the Lord's going to take them out of power. Let's go back here real quick. This is Sirach 10 and 8. Injustice, which means not right. Arrogance, which is pride. Think you can replace the Most High. Right? It says, and wealth cause nations to fall from power. That's why America's going to fall. It says, and others to rise and take their place. And this is the same thing that we see right here, which we're reading about. Okay? Doing whatever the hell they want to do versus what they're supposed to be doing. Supposed to rule the earth the way the Lord wanted it to be ruled. All right, let's come down here. How Greeks explained the decline. Now we jumping down to the Greeks. I said it was similar to the Greeks' fall. Right? It says Greek writers often blame moral and cultural decay, especially after the period of greatness. Right? Thinkers like Plato and Aristotle worried about what? Loss of civil virtue, public spiritedness, having all these different idols being pushed out. It says corruption and democracy, where leaders appeal to crowds instead of reason. Everybody's want to fulfill the lust of the flesh, getting a whole bunch of money, and nobody wants to do what's right. Right? It says luxury and softness replacing discipline. Niggas all flashy. You can't even think about that with because this is Rome. What's that empire that got burnt up? The golly, I forgot. I can't think of the exact name right now. that one empire that got rain fire. Damn, what's it called? Let me see. Look at it real quick. What is that empire called? What is that? Pompeii. Yeah, Pompeii. There it is. Pompeii. Couldn't think of the goddamn name. It's like, but yeah, just like Pompeii. Pompeii was all into all this, that flashy, feel the lust of the flesh, and the Lord jacked them up, man. You see? So let's go in without further ado, read some more. It says, you jump down, it says Plato, after Athens' defeat in Peloponnesian War, argued that society is okay when people value pleasure and wealth over virtue, right? And that's what America's all flashy, all about getting money and just glory and status. That's what the average American is values. You see, and that's why we're seeing is a decline. All right, it says right here, what actually weakened Greece? It says, unlike the Roman Empire, Greece wasn't a single empire, but a collection of independent city-states. It says constant warfare between Polis, Athens, and Sparta. Big example. It says democratic collapse from war and plague. Right? It says economic exhaustion, political instability, rapid regime changes. You see, and then even you had the Macedonian takeover, which we just read about in Maccabees. Right? It says many Greeks explain the loss of moral failure through military and political realities, right? So both Greece and Rome show the same pattern of crisis, instability, behavioral changes. Intellectuals label it more and more decline or collapse. Loss, as it says, collapse or loss of independence flows. You see? So a lot of these things led to people, losing a lot of their morale. And that led to their nation falling, which we're seeing the same things happening right now in America. We just had the C-19. We have people that are getting kicked out because ultimately they're on the line with this N-W-O agenda that they're trying to push, right? So on and so forth. We're seeing a war happening everywhere. Everybody's getting bombed up right now for their resources. It's straight wickedness and evil on the planet Earth. And we're going to see America fall because of it. Now let's get this right here. This is in the NLT. Proverbs 28:2 says, when there is moral rot within a nation, its government topples easily. It's easily to be taken down, right? And that's what we're seeing. The biggest moral rot in America is now, right? It says, but wise, knowledgeable leaders bring stability, and there's not going to be stability here. You see, because the rulership is straight foundationized off of things contrary to the Lord. So the Lord's going to bring a judgment to this place for that. I want to get this in a GNT as well. No, this GNT. It says, when a nation sins, it will have one ruler after another, but a nation will be strong and endure when it has intelligent, sensible leaders, right? And that's who's going to be placed in the spot of Esau. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. And we're going to rule in righteousness under the new covenant. When Yahushua establishes that order of Melchizedek, he's going to put the law, statutes, and commandments in his people's inward parts. So we never sin, and we're going to be able to make the right judgments and right rulership perfectly forever. So we're going to rule forever. You see? But I want to go here. This is Revelation 18. I'm going to start at verse 2. It says, start at verse 1. It says, Revelation 18. It says, Babylon is fallen. Daughter of Babylon is America. This is Revelation 18. Right? It says, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. This is what John the Revelator saw, a vision, a dream. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. This is after the judgment, when he's seen the judgment of Babylon. Right? It says, and it become the habitation of devils, like deceivers, and the whole very foul spirit. You see, which that's what America was. You had all types of everybody was straight contrary to the Lord. Straight liars. You see? But this is talking about the destruction, the judgment of it. It says, in the whole very foul spirit, in a cage, every hateful and unclean bird. See, because after this destruction, the Lord's going to make this place to a straight up desert. You see? It's not going to be in its glory like it was, right? It is right now. Right? It says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, right? And that's going into the N-W-O agenda, speaking about all the ideologies and philosophy that America's pushed on the earth. This AI and all this, these nations are eight of that. All these pacts they had with America, Treaty of Rome, all this stuff, man. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. They was making money off America. You see, they was winning. China, all these different nations, right? And it said they committed fornication because guess what? They started, they diverted from what their ways, and they went and started following how America is. Their women is all acting like American women, all immoral. People are all trying to just get a whole bunch of money and all this. They're basically following the same way Esau followed. Verse 4, it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and ye receive not of her plagues. It's talking about that fathership, which is the chariots coming and delivering the elect of the Lord's chosen people, the Israelites. You see, he's going to have them come up. That's all the scripture, they come up and hither, right? Revelation 12. Because the elect are going to be delivered, well, Revelation 11 and 12, they're going to get delivered into that chariot, that fathership, and not be judged with America. Because America has nuclear destruction and those fatherships, demon rays of light to come to it, man. That's the second death. It says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the heavenly Father hath remembered her iniquities. That's why this place is going to fall as such. You see, because the heavenly Father remembered all this wickedness that is done here, and he's going to bring a judgment for it. Nobody in America's not gotten away with anything, right? It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which she had filled to her double. And that's the type of judgment that's going to get ready to come to America, Babylon the Great. But that's the point I wanted to go into. Because it said her sins have reached into the heavens. That's how wicked this place is gotten, right? So a moral decline leads to a fall, and this is a moral decline at the very highest estate. It's taking all the wickedness and evil of these other nations and put it into one big empire and made all the other nations follow them. So we're going to see a great judgment. So that's the point I wanted to go into. You know, Lord willing, this lesson edified. I like to end it all by saying, call Lord Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Deborah to the apostle elders, we're a millstone, we will teach well. So next time, come by Shalom.